We're, we're glad that you could join us this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about marketing strategies to build endowment. And we're working with the assumption that most, if not all of you on the phone, already have an endowment fund with a community foundation. If you don't, we did do a webinar earlier this year to talk about the endowment basics, and we'll refer you to that page when the webinar is over this morning. But I'd like to also kind of give a shout out to some of the folks that you're going to hear later today. Myself, my colleagues, Stephanie Glazier, Ashley Collins, Jack Van Ash. And I also want to give a shout out to one person who's not going to be on the webinar, or actually presenting on the webinar. I think she's on, but Emily Angel, who's moved to a different role at the Community Foundation, but she's the one that really got us started down this path to making sure that we have more tools available for our agency endowment partners. And I just want to applaud Emily for that. So if we could move to the next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about making the case for endowment. Sometimes there's some apprehension from staff or board members, and so we'll go through a little bit of that. We'll talk about how you can explain endowment in real simple and clear terms and give you some information around that. And then Ashley and Jack are going to talk really much more of the meat of this webinar about marketing strategies and different things to think about promoting your endowment fund or even just your organization as a whole. Next slide. So making the case, why fundraise for both general operating support and endowment? An endowment fund is one that is invested to provide long-term support. And we view endowment as being in perpetuity. We want funds to be here forever. And in our minds, it's also a way to plant a flag in the ground for your organization to say to your donors, we plan to be here forever. So we do think that that's a bold, strong statement to make to donors. And we also think that donors like endowment because it's a way that they can think about sustainability for your organization, both now while they're living and then after they've passed. Some people are afraid to promote endowment because they're worried that it will detract from other fundraising activity. And it's really likely that donors who care about your mission, who want to give to endowment, are also going to give to your annual operations. We see it as a both and, not an either or. And donors are already thinking long-term planning. We've seen that a lot since the pandemic started. We've seen an increase in planning. And so people are thinking not only about this year's charitable goals, but next year and beyond. And so endowment fundraising could open up a door with some of your donors to planning gifts. That's one of the newer phrases in fundraising is more gift planning. So you're thinking both current and future estate gifts, not just estate gifts. So we're also thinking future focused with the endowment. It gives you a predictable revenue stream. It helps build your business model. In down economic times, it's one of the most predictable sources of revenue. And again, we mentioned that it talked about to your donors, making that commitment to your organization. Most of the endowment funds that are set up with the community foundation support general operations of an organization. Obviously, we know that that's the most precious dollars that an organization can receive. No donor restrictions on it per se, other than it supports your operations. And that's a wonderful revenue for your organization. We can also establish funds that support specific programs or activities. And while we don't fundraise on your behalf, we do help with cultivation of endowment donors. And that's something that we can be a part of with you. We also will help with that actual gift planning. So whether it's a CGA illustration or talking about other types of planned gifts, we can certainly help with those types of tools. We're going to ask for you to talk about why endowment is important to your organization. And if you could let us know in the chat. We're also going to have some follow-up with the website afterwards to be able to provide additional input as well. So I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Stephanie Glazier.
Thanks, Randy. I think you've given us a good base for understanding what endowment is. So I'll just repeat quickly that an endowment is a fund that's invested to provide long-term support for your organization in perpetuity, right? So now we're going to look at a video that's a good example of how to translate that to your constituents and donorship.
Imagine having a way to make a single gift that can grow and support the charitable causes you care about year after year for impact that lasts. That's why we exist. We're the Community Foundation of Abilene. Our mission is to empower people to make a lasting charitable impact on our community. We call it a lasting impact because the power of endowment. Here's how endowment works. A donor makes a gift to establish a fund. The foundation strategically invests the donation to help the fund grow over time. We award grants from the fund's revenue each year to causes that matter to the donor. The number of grants from a fund can eventually exceed the amount of the original gift. That's why we call it a lasting impact. It's a sustainable model of philanthropy. Let's look at it another way. Imagine a tree that grows and bears fruit each year. This repeated fruit bearing is what endowment makes possible. Think of the donor as the one ready to plant a tree. The Community Foundation helps them plant it. Then we nourish the soil and tree so that it grows and bears fruit year after year. That's the power of endowment. We are here to be your partner in charitable giving so that you can make an impact that lasts. cfabilene.org.
I think that was a great example of how to talk about endowment in a video. And I'm just going to take us through a couple of message examples that you can use with your constituents, with your donors, to really convey the understanding that over time, endowment gifts enable you to focus more on your mission and less on keeping the lights on, right? So these kinds of gifts grow over time, provide for the long-term health of your organization, and can be operating funds in the long term, but allow you to less focus on building that annual endowment, which provides for your daily needs, and more on taking risks in serving your community. Next slide. This is another example. Our endowment fund exists for the long-term life of our organization. As the fund grows, distributions from the fund can be used for our organization's most pressing needs, like emergency resources in times of crises. Another thing that you can talk about with your donorship and constituents is how useful your endowment disbursements were in the COVID era, right? So again, we really want to convey the idea that as opposed to making a gift that you can't access the principle of, this is providing for the long-term health of your organization, of your mission, and letting the market work for your cause and your efforts together. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley now to give us some examples of how to market endowment.
Thank you, Stephanie. Be sure to, if you could, drop some examples of how you talk about endowment with your constituents, with your donors, with your board. How do you explain endowment to someone when you're trying to raise funds for it or get it started? Just let us know. We can help each other out. All right. So like I said, my name is Ashley Collins. I'm the Digital Communications Officer at the Community Foundation, and I will be chatting about how to use your website, email, social media, and more to fundraise for endowment. First and foremost, there are some general, best practices for marketing strategies. One, it's only September, but it's a good idea to go ahead and start figuring out your strategy now. So to start planning your campaign early. Also build a team of volunteers and board members to help you with your marketing efforts. Take a look at what happened last year. Analyze the results. What did you put in? What came through because of those efforts? Typical is set a SMART goal, measurable, and things that you can actually see a return on investment. Identify your audiences and channels. A lot of people think that it's okay just to say, oh, it's the general public, everybody needs to hear this. But really figure out your niche, particularly with endowment building. Who are the people that you think would give to endowment or make a planned gift? That's not everyone on your donor list, that's just a few people. So analyze those audiences. Develop a story, one story, and kind of build that story or expound upon that one story throughout the campaign. It's really easy to say, well, we need 16 stories because we have 6 months worth of campaign to do. But for end of year giving, if you're looking at October, November, December, pick one story that shows the impacts of your organization and get it from different points of view. Maybe it's from someone who benefited from that, from the organization, someone who was a volunteer of the organization to help that happen, a board member. So kind of get that same impact story from different points of view and tell that throughout your campaign. Also, let your supporters do the talking. A lot of donors like to hear from other donors, or other people or potential donors like to hear from donors, as to kind of give that social, social look that, oh, if these people did it, I can trust them too. So let them do the talking. We'll show you a couple of things that you can utilize to get that to work. Use video. It could sounds daunting, but there are easy ways to use video in your campaigns, and we'll go through some of those. Don't let transactional emails go to waste. I'll get more to that. And conduct post-campaign analysis. So once your campaign is over, don't wait until September of next year to go back and figure out what worked, what didn't work this year. So like I said, develop one story. That's going to be your easiest route. So when you're planning your content, create that cornerstone content, that one story that really uplifts the impact that your organization is having. And I wanted to say with that, it's a single story that showcases your impact. It can be split into multiple chapters, like I said, to create more content. And all of those other pieces refer back to that single story, including maybe a letter from your director or your president of the organization to voice different points of the story as well. Focus on the positive impact. I say this because I would like to avoid kind of the victim or like the pity for maybe some of the people that benefit from your organization. For example, I worked in an organization that worked with people with disabilities, and I have my own brother has a disability. So when I worked there, I tried to figure out if I wanted to tell a story to show how we were helping people with disabilities, how would I want my own brother to show up in that story? Would I want people to see that he was an individual and, he had wants and desires in his own story, rather than here we saved and we did things for him and now he's great. So focus on the positive impact and avoid that victim or pity language. Throughout your campaign, also post what's called evergreen content. A lot of people might be coming to your pages that are new. They might be coming to your organization new. So on social media, you can always figure out ways to reintroduce yourself with your mission, your history, how people can get involved. So that type of thing, that's always something you can post throughout the year. Don't leave it out at your end of year giving planning. And within that content, also be sure to do videos and you post maybe some newer posts about your mission, your vision, if there's anything updated, to let people know what's most current and how people can get involved. Use multiple mediums, that's visuals, photography, written word, video. People like to do podcasts and stories like that. So just figure out some different ways that you can use different mediums. Plan a content calendar. Use things like Excel, Google Sheets. There are a couple of other softwares that we're going to introduce to you, like Sprout Social. Anything that you can use to plan and track your content, and then also utilize that for content for next year, what worked, what didn't, and things like that. Prepare stakeholders to share. Let your board, your staff, volunteers, anyone know that there's a campaign coming, and give them some language on how to share your messages, your stories, and give them that so that they can easily like copy paste into social, copy paste into emails and things like that to make it easier for them to pass your story along and pass your fundraising campaign to their friends and family and followers. And then last is utilize different channels. That is what we're going to go into next. The 4 main channels that we're going to talk about today are your website, utilizing email, utilizing social media, and print media to market your endowment, or just in general, market your fundraising efforts. First, your website. Your website is the most important channel of all of the channels. I always refer to as, our home base. It's where all of our content is housed. It's where we have the most control. All other channels then point to your website, point to those things. So like I said, the website is the most important piece of your entire campaign. Build special landing pages, make sure everything's up to date, because that's where everyone's going to be going for your content. You would want to build an endowment landing page. Some people might, or some organizations will have, a general giving page with like a form on it. Here, donate here, use this form. But be sure to have, in addition to your general giving page, an endowment giving page as well. And be sure that you link the two, that they are able to, someone looking at, you're giving to your general online can also say, oh, if you're interested in giving to our endowment or some planned gifts, click here and it'll point them back over. And if they land on your endowment page, oh, they're not ready for that. Oh, click here and go back over to your general donation page. We also have, as a community foundation, we also offer widgets and code to embed into your website that when people donate through that form, it goes directly to your endowment. So we can help you set that up. On those giving pages, link back to the stories, link back to the content that inspires someone to give, so they can take a look if they haven't seen it already, and really possibly get them a little bit more interested in donating to your organization. On your endowment page, also be sure to add a couple of explanations about endowment. We had that definition. You can definitely put the definition up there. And all of the other message examples, you can possibly put that in there as well, so that people are a little bit more understanding about what they're going to be giving to. Right? Make sure that your donation pages, or your donation page, is linked on your homepage. I found that when people open emails, that a lot of people just click on the logo in the email and they go straight to the homepage. So ensure that your homepage is ready for new people to come in. Maybe they're searching for an organization and then you pop up in their search and they land on your homepage. How are they going to get to that donation page? How are they going to get to your endowment page? Is something to look at when you're setting up and adjusting your homepage. Link the giving. But like I said, link the giving and endowment pages. The blog section or the news section is a great place to post the stories and the content that you've created, be it video, be it letters, and just post those stories in the blog section. And maybe every 2 weeks add a new one. Maybe it's once a month, and you just really use that content well. But be able to, for people to find your endowment story basically wherever they go on your website. And last but not least, be sure to provide options to subscribe or follow. Are your social media buttons up to date and good to go? Do you have an email subscribe form so that maybe they're not interested in giving now, but they still want to connect with you? So be sure to have those subscribe and follow buttons ready to go. Just check the chat. Okay. And let's see. When you're looking to build a website, if you don't have one already, MailChimp.com is known for its emailing software, but it also provides resources to build websites as well that link to your email subscribers. And they do have a free tier option that you can utilize. So definitely check out MailChimp.com for your website building. Wix is a pretty easy piece of software to use. Google Sites, if you have a Google Suite, be sure to, if you don't have any other way to build a website, that they offer a website, and you just kind of have to set up the URL to point to that. And so you can have any type of website set up with any type of URL. And then utilize analytics. Check out your Google Analytics too. Google has a few tutorials and such to help you understand the data, but Google Analytics will allow you to see where people are coming from and where people are dropping off and things like that. So then you can adjust your campaign or your pages accordingly. Now, to my my favorite part of marketing, and I'm a big email nerd. I love emails. So if your home base is the place where all your content goes, emails are the most, it lets you connect with your audience on the most personalized level possible. You can utilize the information from your audiences to craft messages that can be more easily hit home. So if they donate to a specific project, you can bring that project up in email. If there's a very specific donor level, like say, hey, you have a segment of people that donate $25 a year, you can segment that group, bring them back up and say, hey, you gave $25 last year, would you like to give 50 this year? And really make it so that they feel that you are paying attention to them as individual donors. And there are 3 different types of emails. One is triggered emails. These are emails that get sent based on a subscriber's action, like making a donation, visiting a certain page on your website, filling out a form, things like that. Autoresponders are emails that include welcome email series. And if you have like downloadable content or something like that, they download the piece and then it sends them the piece that they can see and actually download for the computers. And then newsletters and e-blasts. Those are the promotional emails and the messages that we send out once a month, or our giving campaigns and things like that. So I would like to see real quick, drop in the chat, which one of these do you think gets the most engagement? Which one do you think gets the most opens, the most click-throughs, and are the most effective types of emails? So I'm just going to take a look, see what people are saying in the chat. What do you think? Give everybody a second. Maybe, possibly. Triggered, okay. Triggered. Newsletters, triggered. Subscriber, triggered. Wow, yeah. This is a good group. All right, the correct answer is in fact triggered emails. This is taken from ActiveCampaign, which is a marketing software. And so they took a study and they showed that triggered emails have a 45.7% open rate. 45.7. That's incredible. Autoresponders have a 34, and newsletters have a 22.8%. And this is because the triggered emails are introduced to the website visitor or the email subscriber because they have engaged with you. They have said something they're interested in, and you returned and became a part of that conversation. So they were looking to converse with you. So they're kind of expecting, and when they see something, you're at top of mind for them already. Autoresponders are the second, where again, they've kind of come to you, and it's not really a back and forth, a conversation. It's more of a transactional thing. I'm going to sign up for your email list. I get this. Thank you. And the newsletters are kind of the organization kind of knocking on the person's door saying, hey, we have some information. Hi, we have some information with a bunch of other people in their inbox trying to say the same thing. So typically newsletters are kind of like the biggest focus for nonprofit organizations, but be sure to check out and analyze your triggered emails and your autoresponders. Those set it and forget it will have an incredible impact on your open rate and engagement rate with your donors and potential donors. Crafting an email. Here's some things to keep in mind. First, create and schedule emails ahead of time as much as possible, so that you're not trying to figure out the content, get it just right, and then push it out the door as soon as possible. And that's where that content planning calendar comes in handy. You know when something needs to go out and when you need to get that done and things like that. So creating and scheduling emails ahead of time is very, very important. Keep it simple. And do one call to action. So you don't have to put the entire story. You don't have to put the entire piece of content in an email. Just think about someone looking at it on their phone. Down here, I wrote think mobile first. So if you're keeping it simple, people can scroll, they kind of see a gist of what it is, and then they can more easily click into and go to the bigger piece of content. So within the emails, make sure you have one call to action. It's called a CTA, something like review this document, read a story, contact us, donate, share this story. Give them one thing that you're hoping that the reader will do based on the content in the email. Personalize with segmentation. I touched on this a little bit with your donor levels and things like that. Use photos of your organization, of the impact. Really, give that email a pop with some imagery. Like I said, think mobile first. A lot of email softwares allow you to preview the email on your computer on what it would look like on a mobile device, but also be sure to send it to yourself and check it on your phone, not just your computer, but send it to yourself and check on your phone to see if it works and if you need to adjust anything. Like I said before, start sending now. Even if it's just getting into a cadence of once a month, we're going to give you something. So you keep your organization at the top of their mind, so that when these other emails that are a little more of an ask of please donate to do something, you've already kind of warmed up the relationship by sending stories, updates about yourself, wanting to hear from them, things like that. So that when you don't send basically a cold call for donations when November rolls around. Set up feedback and thank you emails, so that when someone looks at your email, at the bottom, they have some way to get in contact with you as well. Like, let us know your feedback. Click here, are we serving you well? And are we helping you as a donor? And send up forms on your website and in the thank you emails, so that when someone subscribes, they get kicked a thank you email for subscribing. And when I say thank you emails, you may also use what's called a drip campaign, where it's not just you've subscribed, thanks for subscribing, but what do you want them to do next? What's the next section? So you say thank you, and then we're going to move on to, and here's a little bit more about our organization, and then 2 weeks later, here's another story about our organization. So that's a part of that set it and forget it emails that allow you to really engage and keep your emails at top of mind and your organization at top of mind for your donors and potential donors. Let's click here. A lot of folks like to know, when's the best time to send an email? And here's the chart. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are usually the better time to send an email to get an open rate, or to get them to open or click. Mondays aren't that great. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the time of day, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. But I'm going to tell you, Tuesday and Wednesday are the best times, best days, because Mondays you get everyone's piled up and they're just flipping through those emails like, no, I don't want to read this. No, I don't read this. But Tuesday, they're a little more settled. So as you can see, Tuesday between 9 and 3, you're going to get a better chance of an engagement with your donor. But don't let this also be your only barometer, I guess. We do actual testing as well. We see maybe at one point we looked and we thought we'd send on the first day of every month, we're going to send our monthly newsletter. And then we said, you know what, let's try something different. And we found out that just the first Saturday of every month worked better for our audience. So what audience works best for you? I mean, what day works best for you? What time works best for you? Say you're working with teachers. Is between school hours, is that the best time to, you know, send an email to your teachers? Maybe not. So figure out based on your audience what they would like, when they would like emails to be sent and read. And here are a couple of resources. Reallygoodemails.com. Love that place. It allows you to see by color, by type of email. Is it an event? Is it a promotional thing? Is it a newsletter? They have so many examples and inspiration to choose from. Classy.org. Check out their website. They're a donor-based, kind of like a donor engagement software, but they have incredible resources, free resources to talk about email newsletters and marketing and really how to push your fundraising forward. ActiveCampaign is an email software. MailChimp we've kind of covered, and all of these will be sent to you and available to you in the slide deck after the presentation. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jack, who's going to talk a little bit about social media.
Thank you, Ashley. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jack Van Ash. I'm the digital media specialist at the Community Foundation. I manage social media as part of my role at the foundation, and I'm going to walk us through using social media to drive traffic to your agency endowment giving pages. And in doing that, we'll go over best practices, crafting posts, giving on Facebook, and like Ashley left you with resources for email, I'll leave you with some resources for social. So to start here, general best practices. Number one, consider your audience. I know Ashley already said a few times in best practices and in every single channel, but it is just so important to consider your audience, especially on social. You can actually use Facebook to look at your actual follower splits, your demographics of your followers. But more important than that, you need to actually be thinking about who you want to reach, not necessarily what your post will just reach if you throw it out there. It will give every individual post that much more energy going forward when you are putting your audience first and catering to them before you even start crafting. You want to be consistent. Social has changed so much over the last few years, and it's constantly changing with the algorithms that will put posts in the certain order that they appear on your timelines. But the number one rule that is always true is to stay consistent. If you stop posting for a while and post once every few weeks or once every month or anything like that, you're going to fall off of people's timelines. And even if they follow you, you might not be showing up on Facebook, Instagram, and even Twitter. Utilize analytics. Utilizing analytics is crucial, and not just what we call vanity stats. You can look at your posts and see that it had some likes, and that could tell you that people are engaging with it and that it's great. But the most important thing you want to see is overall engagement. So are people actually clicking on the links that I'm including in my posts? Are they doing the action that I want them to do when I started crafting this post? So you're thinking about the audience. What do you want them to do? And then you can use these analytics to see, are they doing it or are they not? And when you see what's playing into the goals of your post, is this achieving the goals of my post or is it not? You can make your tweaks from there. When to send. Analytics is super helpful on seeing when to send as well. You see that data that, like Ashley mentioned, if Monday morning your posts aren't doing that well, then try a similar post on Tuesday at 2 p.m. and see what happens. See if people are on their lunch break and engaging with your posts then, and try to follow the blueprint for what you've done before to continue that going forward. And that's what we right here, replicate successful posts. That is totally okay to copy off of your own success, whether that's the timing, whether that's the language you use in your actual posts. It's the type of story that you used, or it's like the call to action that you have on. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So go ahead to the next slide and we'll talk about crafting posts. You want to keep your messages short and succinct. You want just a short and sweet message. You want to make sure you can still get everything across, but the attention spans and the space you just have on social is shrinking. Even if you get more characters on Twitter now than you had 3 years ago, people aren't going to read long posts if they're not getting to the point. To bolster that, you can even include media. I highly recommend photos, videos especially. Right now, social is turning to videos, but those can be harder to create. They're more time consuming, and sometimes you might not see the results. Photos are critical. You just find the right photo to include, even if it's just on the link to what you're going to, or a donor photo or an impact photo or anything like that. Just a high quality photo, it stands out so much more on the timeline that it's just so full. Everything is demanding your attention. And if you see a good photo, people are going to go to it. You want to vary your content as well. This includes, you don't just want to have the same post every single time someone goes on. They're not going to engage with it. It's going to just fall off of people's radar. You'll want to mix in some testimonials. People like to hear what other people's success stories have been, and it's great. It builds trust. And I'm going to share some tools to be able to actually capture testimonials later on when we get to the resources. But there are tools out there that will help you put in a little bit less work for really high quality testimonials to come out. Stories of impact. If you have any impact stories written, even if it's just a few sentences, it's crucial that people see what the good coming out of this will be. They might already know what they're getting into, but it's so good to have a reminder. Even for me, even for the Community Foundation, I am blown away at times. I know where I work, I know the good that we do, but when I come to work and I'm putting up some of these posts and even it's getting to me, like, oh wow, I actually am inspired by this. I love this. So sharing those stories of impact, even if it's not 300 word story on a site, it can be 2 sentences of this happened and it was good. See how you can get in on that. I think that's wonderful. And recycled content. I didn't include it here on the screen because I talked about it before, but you can repurpose your content for several posts, and you don't want to have the same one week with 7 posts that say the same thing. But over the span of a month, maybe you have that good impact story and you want to share it again. Maybe people didn't see it the first time. It's not going to hurt them if they see it a second. But mostly you just want to tweak the language a little bit or spread it out between once a month if you have that evergreen content like Ashley talked about earlier. It's really important. But most important is your call to action, I would say. You want one call to action per post. And like we talked about at the very beginning, what do I want people to do? That's what is going to go into your call to action. So if you want people to go to that give page, to your widget that we provided to give to your agency endowment, you're going to want to figure out the short and sweet message that you want to put down for people to actually do that. So make your impact today, give to our agency endowment, anything like that. You want one per post. You don't want to be begging the whole post or telling people to go and having them be confused. And I highly recommend that you send them to that give page widget that we provide to send you there. Otherwise, you could always go to our site, to the agency endowment give page, and we do have a drop down bar there where they could select, but that is kind of complicated to explain in a social post. So I just highly recommend send them to your give page widget. And here on the next slide, giving on Facebook. This is a very common thought when you work nonprofit social media. Facebook has introduced Facebook giving. Facebook will not allow direct donations to your agency endowment. What you can do is designate a campaign on your site. You'll craft the campaign on Facebook giving. There's a screenshot here on the slide that you'll be able to look at when we actually have the when we provide the slides for you later. But when you post that up, you can write, this campaign, we are raising funds for our agency endowment with the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan. You'll be able to set like an actual time frame for how long that campaign will last, your campaign goal for how much money you're looking to raise, and post that and share that. So people can give to that on Facebook. That will end up going to your organization, and then you will be able to put that into the agency endowment. You won't get a lot of information on the donors. Facebook does not provide a lot of donor data the way that you would get if they gave otherwise. But it is still a tool that you can use to raise funds, and it can be very effective, especially if you consider all of the prior things that we talked about. You include a lot of that impact on your social and you have an engaged audience. This is a great way to raise some funds for the agency endowment. You can even continue resharing that. We don't have to go back, but you can continue resharing that for the duration of that campaign and really go for weeks, I believe, to drive that up. So highly recommend that. And now some resources. If you have heard me talking and you're like, well, how in the world am I going to do all of that? Or, I don't have the time or the capacity. You might actually. Facebook Creator Studio, that is free. The link to it is in the slides that you'll be able to click on after the webinar, but that's free. It's built right into Facebook, and it's very, very well thought out. There are a lot of things you can do on Facebook Creator Studio, sometimes even more so than you can do on some of these other paid social media managers. Hootsuite, I highly recommend Hootsuite. With Hootsuite, the free version of Hootsuite allows for 3 social profiles. So say a Facebook account, a Twitter account, and Instagram, or a Facebook, Instagram, and a LinkedIn. Those will be free. You can just connect social accounts there, and you can schedule 5 posts at a time. So 1 every day of the work week. If you wanted to upgrade from that to the paid version of Hootsuite, which allows much more posts, I think unlimited posts scheduled at a time, and maybe up to 5 or 10 social profiles, you can apply actually for Hootsuite for nonprofits. That's linked right here, and you can check that out and see if you would qualify. But that is that's a very nice option for managing social. Buffer is another one similar to Hootsuite. You can connect 3 profiles and schedule 30 posts at a time. So same amount of profiles, but you can schedule 1 per day for a month. There is a nonprofit discount to apply for a pro level account, and I would recommend that as well. Content creation. For content creation, we have Vouch. That's the testimonial app that I was speaking on earlier. It's an app and a website, vouchfor.com. It's linked here. You'll be able to click it. But you can type questions to, say, somebody who has benefited from grants from your endowment. You could actually contact a representative from them and set up a video interview. And it would look as if they have made like a crafted video where they're being interviewed and discussing all of this great stuff. You type in your questions on Vouch, it will display to them, and they will be able to record their responses, whether on their phone or on their desktop, in a video interview. And at the end, it will wrap it all up and edit it into just one statement, essentially. And that is a super useful tool to be able to get quick social media content. Like we said, that those videos will draw. Go ahead, Ashley.
I would say the only other piece I would add is that it allows each question to be its own video as well. So you can say, how were you impacted by our organization this year? And it gives them that question. And then so they can answer that question. They can read their statement as a teleprompter, and then they record that one. That one's done. And they can move to the next question is, what do you see for yourself in the future? So you can utilize the individual videos as well as the overarching video as well. And I don't know if you mentioned or not, but there's a free version that covers a lot of ground.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for adding that, Ashley. That user interface that it has, where it will actually let the user write down their notes and have it act as a teleprompter while they're recording, makes your video as a result so much better. We also have Canva for nonprofits. Canva is a all-encompassing, almost do-it-for-you media editor. You can create infographics on there, you can edit photos on there, you can create flyers, invitations, any kind of graphic work. Canva is amazing. The free version is very expansive. There's so much you can do on it. It will have all the icons there for you. It's drag and drop, plug and play. I love it. If you wanted to upgrade to the paid version, which has even more capabilities, it's like you won't even need to know how to use Photoshop to make a fancy graphic. You would just be able to go right in there and make it happen.
And I believe Canva is actually free for nonprofits. Like even the full slate of everything, I believe, is free for nonprofits.
I think that's right. The link here for Canva for nonprofits, you'll be able to click on after the webinar. And then the two photo sites that I love to use, Pexels and Unsplash. These are the two main general stock photo galleries. They're free to use, free downloads. If you just want to type and target a certain audience, or you just feel like you need a photo of a family playing outside for your org to go with your post, you search that up and there will be 50 photos, and you take your best pick. What do you like the most? Download it right away and put it up there. There are also a few others that Ashley has mentioned in the past that he likes for more inclusive content. And Ashley, if you wanted to share those right now, in case anybody wanted to, or you could even put it in the chat just so that people could save it instead of have to scramble.
We'll be sure to add it to the slides afterwards. But there's also a couple of free photo websites that have gender inclusivity, body positivity, and some that are focused on, you know, African Americans and stock photos and things like that. So we'll be sure to link those in as well. Thank
you, Ashley. And last, I want to leave with some analytics resources. Google Analytics is just the absolute best. Ashley mentioned it for your site and how it can help you figure out setting up your site and how you're being successful on your site, but it will also help with social. You can actually go on Google Analytics, which I believe is free, and you will be able to see how many people are going to that give page as a result of your Facebook posts, as a result of your Twitter posts. You can actually see how successful all of your social media has been based off the results of that. And then I included 2 articles right below that that go into that in depth. We wouldn't have the time to talk about it now, but it's not very difficult and it's very user friendly. And these 2 articles right here will walk you through it. And the last one is, which social media networks should we keep track of? That's all there. I highly recommend it. And that's all for social media. I'm going to kick it back to Ashley to talk about print media. You're muted, Ashley.
Well, I know we have like 5 minutes, so I'm just going to say real quick, when you're printing media, you can utilize letters, postcards, your newsletter, annual reports, get a 1-pager on Endowment, put up a poster, use Canva, things like that, so that you can really spread the word and utilize those messages that Stephanie shared with us earlier, and drop those things in your programs, in your bulletins and things like that, to really use those printed channels to talk about your endowment. The other piece for references and resources, Canva allows you to literally print right off of that. You can send things to a printer. I've done t-shirts on there as well, where you design the t-shirt, you order the t-shirt right off of Canva. It's pretty cool. PictoChart allows you to create, you know, more printable pieces as well. And Overnight Prints, you can get a nonprofit discount. They have their platinum pricing for nonprofits that allow you to really turn that piece around, because we all know how nonprofits work. We need something, or like, oh, we got to do it right now. So Overnight Prints might be able to help you with that. And with that, if you have any of the strategies and what channels you want to use this year, let us know in the chat. And going to wrap up. And if you have any questions, feel free to chat, raise your hand. We have set up a resource for nonprofits with endowment with us at cfsem.org/manage fund. And that allows you to see where to get widgets, where to get, we have endowment ads that you can utilize, how to get in contact with us, what is available to you as an organization with endowment, like the CGA plans and planned giving and things like that, as well as a little section to say, what are the challenges that you're having and how can we help you really market your endowment? And with that, I'll open up for questions. And if there are no questions, that's cool too. Be on the lookout. Probably tomorrow, we'll be able to send out a follow-up email with the recording, that web address, and any other information that we can do to really help you bolster your marketing for your endowment here at the Community Foundation. Randy, is there anything else you'd like to mention?
No, I would just say thank you to everyone for joining. And if there's anything that we can do and follow up, I know I've had a couple of chats with some of you and we'll be following up afterwards, but please consider us a resource, and myself and Stephanie will probably be your primary contacts if you have anything related to this. We didn't want to put Jack and Ashley out responding to everybody, even though they put out this great content, but we'll have some more follow-up for all of you that are interested.
I see a couple of questions are coming in. Someone asked, do we have unique recognition strategies? Also, can the case be made that recognition is strengthened because it goes into perpetuity rather than a capital gift that could be seen as episodic? If you have that question, send that to me. I'm going to put my email in the chat, so you can send that to me and we can get in touch.
Also think about named sub-funds for recognition, long-term recognition. We have $10,000 minimum for a named fund for your donors to be able to think about that gift that's going to support your organization forever.
All right. Michelle Hodges, were you the one that asked that question? Just send me an email, acollins@cfsem.org.
Yes, Ashley, it was me. Thank you. And it looked like I might have been sending a direct message. I have no idea what I'm doing, but thank you for trying to answer it. And I look forward to brainstorming with you. That'd be great.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. Hope everybody has a great week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be in contact soon. Thank you.